Hey folks, welcome back to Viper Island. There was a new G.I. Joe stream just moments ago. Yo-Jo June is here, and as always, we have full coverage for you on all of it. And make sure you watch until the end, because later in this episode, we'll dive into a full analysis of each figure to give you insight and to help guide you through all of the releases. I'll tell you my own reaction, which reveals I like the most, as well as which ones I'm really not into and why. We have a lot to discuss, so let's get into it. First up, the name-only reveals. There was only one this time. Hasbro announced the following future release: Footloose. Next, over to the digital renders. At this event, there were two digital render reveals. First up, Saw Viper, and this looks similar to a mix of Tripwire, Cobra Island Firefly, and Scrap Iron. He's big and bulky. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And then we also have Dial Tone, and this is the classic looking Dial Tone from the 80s, based on a vintage-inspired design. If you've been waiting for Dial Tone, let us know how pleased you are with this. And before we move on, we invite you to quickly do us a favor and smash that like button to show your support for the show and the work that we put into it. Next, we have brand new pre-orders. These include the Cobra Stinger and its driver, Storm Shadow version 2, Alpine, Iron Grenadier, Iron Grenadier BAT, Retro Cobra Commander, Retro Cobra Trooper, Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter, Mad Marauders Spirit and Lowlight 2-pack. Next, let's jump into our analysis and our first reactions to what was revealed today. And let's start with Storm Shadow version 2. This is the version of Storm Shadow that a lot of Joe fans are going to be excited about. For many out there, this is your favorite Storm Shadow, and it might be my favorite as well. However, this take on Storm Shadow looks a little bit off. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'll explain in a moment. One thing that stands out is how much more effort has been put into this Storm Shadow compared to the other Storm Shadows in the classified series. This one has 3 pairs of interchangeable hands, a pair for holding weapons, a pair of fists, and a pair of chopping hands. It also includes his signature claws, which are reused from Nunchuck, the compound bow from Shadow Tracker and Naugahyde, and 2 swords. The head does look like Storm Shadow, but I expect that a lot of people out there are not a fan of this. Overall, the design of this figure doesn't quite work for me. That said, it might grow on me over time, and once this figure is in hand, my opinion might change. I'll say this: if Storm Shadow version 2 appeared in Fortnite, it would look exactly like this. This is the video game version of Storm Shadow version 2, not the retro-inspired one that we all expected. It's just too bright and bold in my opinion, and a little too busy. I think the less is more rule would have worked better here, but let me know your thoughts on this. I expect that Storm Shadow version 2 will end up being a polarizing figure only because it's so revered by much of the fanbase. When he's all geared up, he should look pretty incredible, but we can already tell you that his samurai belt, loincloth, sword sheath, swords, and legs are prepped for future reuse next year with Budo, so keep Budo in mind for the 2025 pipeline. Ultimately, I don't want to take away anyone's enjoyment of this figure, so if you do like this Storm Shadow, that's great. It does look solid, even if it's not what everyone had in mind, and it's good to have this finally joined classified. Next, over to Alpine. This is exactly what most fans expected. It's a loyal vintage-inspired Alpine with a removable hat, and also this includes all the reuse from other figures that we told you about previously. That includes Arctic Mission Storm Shadow's grapple hook, Alley Viper's grapple gun, and more. His leather jacket is one of the highlights here for me, as it brings a fresh new look to classified. The head sculpt is well done, and it might be one of the best Joe head sculpts overall, and at the very least, it is accurate. It looks like Alpine. I'm a fan of this Alpine, and I want to hear from you guys if you are as well. Do you think this hit all the marks? Is it a little off in one way or another? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. Next, the Iron Grenadier. And this Iron Grenadier is one hell of a beefed up troop builder. He has 3 firearms, a big battle sword, and a helmet. His regal wartime jacket has coattails, and this might be a concern for restricting the articulation of his legs. Overall though, that might not matter. This figure has strong World War II vibes just from the uniform alone. At first sight, he looks like a villain. In the world of action figures, that does matter a lot. The head sculpt is an armored gas mask type of helmet, and of course he has a removable war helmet which fits over top. His legs are reused from the Crimson Guard. and once he's all geared up, it's a striking and menacing look. This is one of the more formal-looking Cobra figures so far, behind only Cobra Commander. An army of Iron Grenadiers will look truly intimidating, and it seems like that's the end result that Hasbro was going for here, so it seems like a win in my opinion. Then over to the Iron Grenadier BAT. We told you about the Iron Grenadier BAT last September, and it was later confirmed months later. This is a straight-up repaint with a new armored head sculpt. His arms and all attachables are colored gold. His chainsaw is reused from the Arctic BAT, and the armored head sculpt looks like a Terminator Centurion. If you're into bats, you're likely excited for this. However, for me this is a pass. But even still, I'm excited for all those collectors who love troop building with armies of bats. This is one of the more unstoppable versions we've seen of the bat so far, and it's very fitting that it's part of the Iron Grenadier theme line. Next over to the Cobra Stinger. The official name here is the Cobra Night Attack, but no one's going to call it that. This is the Cobra Stinger. This is a redeco of the Vamp with some key alterations. First, the doors and roof are covered. There's a missile rack on the back, and this includes blast effects for when the missiles are firing. There are no spotlight racks this time, but there are spikes on the front of the grille. So you know by that this is a Cobra vehicle. The headlights have covers this time, and as predicted, the Stinger driver is a light gray redeco of the Cobra officer. Next, Retro Cobra Commander. This is a vintage-inspired look for Cobra Commander. He's one of the most iconic villains in pop culture and action figure history. The figure stands out with the striking blue uniform, his distinctive silver faceplate helmet, and the Cobra logo on his chest. He's equipped with his signature laser pistol and a venomous demeanor. This Cobra Commander is depicted as a cunning, ruthless, and power-hungry antagonist, and this is a memorable iteration of the Cobra leader, and we've been waiting a long time for this. And as we told you during our G.I.JOE June preview, this has a vac metal finish to the faceplate. Next, over to the Retro Cobra Trooper. This is a redeco of an earlier figure with an infantry helmet. Essentially, it is what it is. Any collectors who started collecting the Classified series in the past couple years may have missed out on the Trooper or infantry figures, so this is a way for them to catch up. There's ample reuse here with firearms from the Action Sailor, Snow Serpent, Cobra Valkyries, and Spirit Sniper Rifle. It's a pass for me, but a retro card Cobra Trooper is long overdue, so it's good to see this join the line. The next is Retro Stalker, and this is another redeco, and this time he features a lot more camo design. The first version was a very muted iteration with faded colors, so this redo is closer to the original 1982 colors. Next, Sergeant Slaughter. This is another repaint with heavy reuse. We've come to expect that with any of the theme lines. The exception here is the inclusion of Sarge's itty bitty ditty bag, which can hold all of his accessories. The first version of Sergeant Slaughter for Classified did not have any way of storing his accessories on the figure, so this is better than the original in terms of his accessory loadout. If you're into the Mad Marauders theme, you probably love this iteration. For those who are not collecting all the different theme lines, it's likely a pass. This Sarge does also include Big Boa's boxing gloves, although they're blue, and his 90-pound dumbbells. It also includes a mini Sarge figure, and as we told you months ago, this one is themed for the Mad Marauders. One thing of note, there will be two slightly different packages for the Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter. The only difference is the placement of his accessories within the blister pack. The figures and accessories are all the same. Hasbro sent Sergeant Slaughter an early sample of the figure that we're showing you now. In this one, Sarge is not wearing his hat or glasses. They're stored separately off to the side, featured in the plastic bubble packaging. Sarge said on Twitter that he didn't approve of this figure because his head was not covered. And he's right, it looks better with the hat and glasses on. So Hasbro took another stab at it, put the hat and glasses on the figure for the remainder of the production runs, and some will call this a variant, but that's a bit of a stretch. As for which version you'll receive when you pre-order this figure, you won't know in advance. The first ones will likely be released overseas in the first waves of distribution like normal, before the fixed packaging is released afterward. Let's also keep in mind that these figures are mass-produced by the tens of thousands, and bought primarily by toy collectors, many of whom are buying extras for the sake of collecting. That waters down the overall value of any of these figures, so just keep that in mind whenever there's a conversation or a situation like this. But odds are there will be hundreds or thousands that were made of this. But that said, if you think the first version has more value, more power to you. It's hardly a variant, as the figure and accessories and packaging are almost exactly the same, except for where the hat and glasses are stored. Ultimately, it's only worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. Whereas back in 2021, the Cobra Island Beachhead had versions with either blue eyes or brown eyes. That's a variant. Also, Duke, Scarlet, and Roadblock all had field variants of their original figures with slightly different paint apps. Each of those is definitely considered a variant, as there is a noticeable difference. By comparison, the Mad Marauder Sergeant Slaughter is hardly a variant, so will it really matter which one you receive? I doubt it. Next, over to the Mad Marauders 2-pack. We're getting a pair of long-range marksmen in Lowlight and Spirit. Spirit includes a golden eagle this time instead of a bald eagle. Lowlight and Spirit both have new backpacks reused from other characters. Lowlight has been given Tunnel Rat's backpack and Master of Disguise Zartan's sniper rifle, which was also reused by the Arctic Bat. Meanwhile, Spirit has been given Outback's backpack and shovel, and his sniper rifle can be stored on the side of the backpack. Both are featured in the brown, blue, and green color scheme for the Marauders. Essentially, it's a 2-pack of easy repaints. I suspect most excitement that fans might have had for the Mad Marauders theme line has likely dissipated by now, as Hasbro released the Mad Marauders Barbecue in 2023 and did nothing more with the theme line until now. Given that these are repaints, they are prime candidates for sticking around for a long time to come. Both are very good figures on their own, but not many were waiting for these. So with that in mind, there should not be any need to rush out and pay full price for these right now, as they will almost certainly be available on sale in the near future. If you're interested in this 2-pack, you shouldn't have any trouble finding one. But let's turn this over to you. Is there any particular figure that you're blown away by? Or is there a figure that you're disappointed by? We definitely want to hear from you guys. And we've been told that the insightful viewer feedback on our videos is one of the things that Hasbro appreciates and listens to. So keep it classy, but sound off with all of your reactions, thoughts, and feelings to what was revealed today. Now there's something interesting happening in the background of some of the images here, and that's the inclusion of a gold-headed Steel Corps Trooper. This right here confirms our reporting earlier this year that Hasbro had originally planned to include a gold-headed Steel Corps Trooper as the final tier of the Dragonfly Haslab project, before ultimately replacing it with a Night Force Crazy Legs instead. As we explained before, this is exactly why Crazy Legs never received an official digital render like Ripcord and Glenda did. And now we have official images from Hasbro that confirm the existence of a gold-headed Steel Corps Trooper. Let us know your thoughts on this special Steel Corps Trooper. We know that it was made last year, and its inclusion in the Iron Grenadier battle scenes is either a cheeky nod or a sneak peek at a future release. In the meantime, this confirms our reporting yet again. When we know more, we'll be sure to let you know. The most disappointing figure for me here is Storm Shadow. For one of the most anticipated figures, it misses the mark for me, and seems a lot more like a generic background ninja as a result, but I can also see this being very popular with a lot of collectors. The biggest surprise for me here was the tank-like look for the Cobra Stinger. The roof covering and doors look impenetrable, and it's much appreciated that this is not just a complete repaint of the Vamp, and that the changes enhance the look of the Stinger. Also, I'm a fan of Alpine, and I think that Hasbro did a great job making this look as accurate as possible. Overall, these figures exemplify the best qualities of the G.I. Joe Classified series, offering a mix of nostalgia for longtime fans and updated designs that appeal to modern collectors. And as always, we want your takes in the comments section. Today's Viper Island question of the day is, which reveal are you most excited about? Whatever your thoughts are, sound off in the comments below. We hope you liked this episode, and stay tuned for more full coverage of Yo-Jo June. My name is Liam. You can follow me on Instagram at Viper Island. For all things G.I. Joe, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you want to support the show, smash that like button. Until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, have a great day, and Yo-Jo!